Cool. So thank you guys for being here, Brian and Jordan. And I think the goal of this, and I'll, admit people in and try to make sure they're muted, but the goal of today is to highlight not only the buying process of everyone wants to be able to buy a home, but what I've found is that we have spent, a certain amount of time helping people transition. Like, what does it mean if I'm trying to buy a home but I'm stuck? Most of the time people get stuck because number one, they don't really know what is the next step. Like, if I know my credit is not best, or if I'm a first time home buyer but I've never had the time to have somebody explain to me the process. Like, I have the desire to buy a home, but it's so many other steps that I get confused on what to do, when I should do it. And so, to eliminate all confusion, the goal of this is number one, to kind of give an overview of what the buying process looks like. And then, where in the buying process do you want to kind of start talking about the credit building, what that does for you, how it will help you out along the journey of you buying a home. And I think that eliminates a lot of confusion for people. And I have seen it allow people to have more confidence in buying a home. So I am actually going to share one thing that for you guys, most of you guys probably have seen. If not, it's just the buying process in general. And this is helpful. So if you're not familiar with me, my name is Jahbari. I'm a real estate agent here in the Bryan-College Station area. And my brokerage is EXP Realty. So being a real estate agent, one of the things that a lot of people want to do is not only buy a home, but understand what is the process of buying a home. And this snapshot, I think, really does it. And we won't go over all this today, and we'll have another time that we will. But I am going to go over the kind of the first few steps, because what I found out is most of people, when they want to go buy a home, they kind of think about it like renting, right? They want to go maybe look at the house first, and then they say, "Hey, I think I found the right house for me. Now I want to put in an application." And the reason I don't ever recommend that is because, for number one, you can get your hopes and excitement up too much, and it can kind of put you in a bad spot, because you can get real discouraged real quick, especially when you're a first time home buyer, especially when you've now invested a lot in the emotional side of, like, I like this home, I seen this home, and you realize either number one, you're not at the position to even buy a house that at that price point. But that doesn't mean you can't. You just need to get on a path to be able to get a home. So what we recommend in the beginning is always getting the pre-approval done up front, because what you can see in this process is it allows you to go about the rest of these steps correctly. Because the pre-approval is number one, you have to submit your income over, and as you talk to my preferred lender, so Jordan, he will generally have a discovery call with you and say, hey, we need some extra documents just to be able to confirm where you're at. And here's the beautiful thing: a lot of people always think that when we reach out, you need to buy like right now. Will it be great? Yeah, no, but that's not our end goal. Like, to have great success in anything, you have to be willing to get to the heart matter. Because if I just sit here give you all the tactical things about what you need to do and not help you understand like the path to get there, then let's just face it, it's nothing is going to be you never will stick with anything worthwhile, because you can only learn like what to do and what to do, why to do something so long until you get to the reason, like, okay, why am I doing this? So the reason why we do this is because I realize, once again, confusion for a lot of people. So the pre-approval up front is very important, because that tells us, hey, this is where you're at. A lot of people's is minimum is 580 that we've always talked about is where you need to be at, the credit score. And then the more you are climbing up that ladder, the better you can qualify for more programs. So then from there, obviously, you do the buyer consultation. That's kind of what we do in a nutshell. But then you start looking for a home. Now, looking for a home is going to be determined off what your pre-approval have told you. It's going to tell you like what price range you can look at, what your payments are going to look like, and even by doing a pre-approval, even if you're not ready at that point, you can start preparing and say, okay, this is what I can buy. Maybe if I fix a couple things on my credit, I can be able to afford more and get some things paid off. And that is so critical because once you're right here in this home search stage, you are now literally able to see, hey, if the house is this price point, or if it meets these criteria that me and my family have, then this is what I'm going to buy. And so I think with that, that's one of the reasons why we've partnered with UQUAL and have Bryan on today, because they have had some success with some of our clients and having success with them because they're still in a program. But I wanted to be able to kick it over to Bryan and just to highlight a little bit more what they do in if you get to that stage and you say, hey, I got pre-approved. We talked to Jahbari, and they said we need to, do a couple things to get our credit in a better position. Why is UQUAL a company that they recommend? What is the purpose of them? Is it gonna cost me hundreds of thousands of dollars a month to be able to use them? And just one thing on that, and another reason why I had a passion at doing this, because I hear so many people, pay for other programs or do other things that they look up and they be like, well, nothing happened. I paid $400, $600, and they were supposed to do this. Now, granted, I will say this. I played college football, and I believe kind of if you got yourself in a position, you're going to have to work to get yourself out, right? So you won't. It's never really a magic pill to eliminate your mistakes, right? Now, there's quicker ways to do it, and it's ways that can help you, get there maybe a little faster if you do your due diligence. But don't think that online, people, they will scam you and they will say, pay this, and this can be wiped off your credit. To an extent, some of that probably is true. But I think that's where you can get trapped in that kind of scammy language and just kind of looking at the tactical things and not go any deeper. So, anyways, all that to say, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I'm going to let Bryan get on here and talk a little bit more about UQUAL and what you guys are doing when it comes to assisting people in the credit rebuilding. And I'm going to let you go from there, Bryan.
I appreciate it. That's an amazing intro. And I love your roadmap because a lot of people don't even understand what they don't know. It's like rich dad, poor dad. They don't know what they don't know.
Yes.
And I talk to clients so often that whether it's through a realtor who's not as informed as you or through just hopping online, they're like, I found a house on Zillow. I'm like, okay, what's your credit score at? They're like 450 on Credit Karma. I'm like, okay, so don't look at that house, you poor thing. Let's stop that because they do get so emotionally invested. They already see their kids playing in that yard when they're looking at it, and it's setting yourself up for failure. So the one thing I would say is on that roadmap, I'm either right before or right after that pre-approval thing. You spoke with Jahbari and Jordan, his preferred lender, and you have a ton of challenges. Maybe you've been declined by another lender, or your credit karma is sub 580, like it's lower, and hey, I've got some work to do. Well, that's where UQUAL comes in, or Jordan pulls your credit and says, hey, we can get you at a 580. So you're semi-qualified, but with only a little bit of improvement, we can get you into a better spot, which will get you a better rate, which gets you a better house and maybe a better neighborhood or whatever it is. So what we are here at UQUAL, and I'll share some slides, but I always like to talk for a quick moment first. I'll keep it quick. I talk fast even without the Red Bull. We are a loan readiness program. We've already talked on it that we are not credit repair, though we have tools to which to be able to improve and optimize your credit. But I've talked to people who have done nightmare situations with the Lexington laws and creditrepair.com. And I mean, there's a company I heard of today that was $500 to sign up and $300 a month. And that's just crazy money for one select service that might or might not work. And looking at that company's reviews, I felt really bad for the person because once again, they just find these places. I am, and UQUAL is 100% referral based. So everything I have to do, even when I'm working for a client, so I'm also working for Jahbari, I'm looking for Jordan because we're all in the loop. This is the ultimate teamwork to make the dream work approach. So I'm going to share my screen real quick, and I will fly through these rather quickly because I do. Oh, you were a Red Wolf. I do appreciate your time. I just had to look. I couldn't tell. So we are a fintech platform. We're an app that clients get the access to when they hire us, when they're sent on over by Jordan, by Jahbari. The tools that clients have that make it where we're not credit repair is budget tools to help with debt to income and down payment. Jahbari talked about, hey, sometimes people look at a house not knowing what they can afford. What you can afford is not what you pay in rent, although that should be a consideration sometimes. It's not necessarily what you think you can afford. There's set criterion for different loans and different amounts that you can qualify at. The debt to income is how much gross you make, how many liabilities, meaning debt you pay out on a monthly basis. The percentage between those two determines how much house you can afford. The lower, the better. I make 10K, I only owe 1K. Well, I've only got 10% debt to income. I could buy anything. If I make 10K and I have to pay out 9K every month, they're like, you can't get a house until you make some improvements. So with that in mind, we create a platform that focuses on budget, how much people have to spend, how much they need to spend, how much they should be spending, which in today's economy, I think people are a little bit more cognizant and aware of it. But like I personally, I Uber Eats. I Uber Eats maybe 4 times a week here at work. My noodles and company, which is my number one thing, it's the buffalo mac and cheese with some sriracha. I love it. Sriracha, I put that on everything. Is like $35 if I Uber Eats it. If I drive over to the noodles, it's like $13. Most people don't think about that difference. That's a $20 difference 4 times a week. That's 80 a week. That's $320 a month. That's what, almost $4,000 a year that I spend Ubering 4 times a week. Get out of here. And in the worst society that we live in nowadays, not only do people not have a budget, but even if they have their budget, it's only one little microcosm of it. We want people to take control of their debt to income, how much they spend, and understand how they can save for a down payment. Now, the other tools that we have that are credit facing is a monthly credit report, because you do have first base in any loan process. That's why Jahbari said it starts with pre-approval. First base is credit, gang. First base is where am I and what can I afford? The where are you is your scores. One thing I always like to touch on, people see online scores and then they see Jordan scores, lender scores, FICO scores. The difference between the two on average, 40 to 60 points, but it could be less, it could be more. The reason there's a difference at all is there are different algorithms. The Vantage model is the online model. It's forgiving. It's so nice. It doesn't care about that paid collection. It doesn't care about late pays 2 years ago. Forget about those. We're a Vantage model. We're here to, it's like my shirt. We're here to have fun. Whereas when it comes to a loan with Jordan, Bryan, we're talking about $200,000, $300,000, $400,000. The FICO algorithms care a great deal about a lot more. So we give a monthly credit report to our clients. There's a dispute platform to be able to track the progress that clients are having on their monthly report, to be able to go after things like collections, late pays, charged off credit cards, whatever it may be that's hurting scores. And then clients also have access to a simulator. I start and stop a couple times just because I'm that guy. I'll stop real quick. Jahbari touched on it so well. You got yourself in this. You had to put some work to get yourself out. And the college football and teamwork approach is also another thing. Like, I've fallen into holes before in my own personal life where I had someone from outside the hole give me their hand and help pull me out. I still had to climb, but I had a hand. For the budget tools, the credit tools, everything along the way, we're working hand in hand to help get you in the spot, to help get the client where they need to be. There will be tasks that only the client can accomplish themselves, whether it's setting up a credit card, whether it's paying down the balances on their open and active credit card accounts, whether it's settling a debt, maybe it's calling to ask for forgiveness, maybe it's just checking your mail every day so you know what's coming your way. This is the most important purchase that you're likely going to make, especially if you're looking to be an investor. Your first one gets you your second, gets you your third, gets you multi-unit and everything else that comes with it. Now you're talking about big money. You can't get there without taking accountability and taking hold of it. We'll give you the tools and we'll give you the coaching and we'll give you the counseling, and we do it as a team, Bryan, Jordan, myself. But it does take a client saying, I'm going to make a change because this is important to me and my family. And being a homeowner in America is the only way to build generational wealth nowadays.
Yes.
It's a difference maker. And I personally, I moved my son is turning 10. We've never moved and we're coming up on a move. And I'm planning to move for after he gets out of 5th grade. I want him to go all the same elementary school. That's something that I didn't have. I didn't have that sense of safety and security. I didn't have a friend from kindergarten to 5th grade that I see people that I know that bump into people like, I went to kindergarten with that guy. I went to kindergarten in New York. I'll never see someone from there. I
Mm.
wanted to provide that to my son. So it's something that home ownership means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. But one of the biggest things I find it means to most people is safety, security, and knowing that you're set. So the tools that we give people are important, but the reason I broke the screen and broke the slides was just to say that though we give you the tools, and Jordan Jahbari don't be there to say, hey, are you using them? Are we all on the same page? And we all get together and we all talk every single month. At the same time, it's going to be that person saying, I'm making a difference in my life or my family or my money, whatever your motivation is. And we will be here to help you. It's just like, I liked how you said at the beginning, Jahbari, it's someone who has a sincere desire.
Mm-hmm.
Have the sincere desire. There's people here that are here to help you. And I love that about you guys at EXP. I love it with Jordan because there's a lot of companies that just kick people out of their office. Like, oh, you're not qualified? Oh, get out of here. It's
Yeah.
like, no, if you want to be a homeowner, we'll help make it happen. So the one thing that does get UQUAL confused with credit repair companies is the disputing platform. It's where clients can go after the questionable accounts. There's no one that does it better than we do. But even then, as Jabari touched on, there's some like it's the same tools for everyone. It's just I think my tools are the best. But even within them, you're still going to have, hey, I need you to settle this or I need you to do that. It's an ultimate, you're behind the driver's seat. The other tools that we have, and then I'll run to the credit basics. So there's a document locker. Jordan Jahbari can talk about how many people they've had to chase for a W-2 or a bank statement. Makes it easy for you when they start asking for paperwork, gang. I can't like get closer to the screen. Give it to them. It will make your life easier. It'll make their life easier. I promise you. We have identity theft insurance. We also have learning centers and things of the like. The big thing I like to go over in these, because especially knowing first-time buyers or potential buyers who don't be seeing them, are some of the do's and don'ts of credit. Now, and I ran through who we are at UQUAL. Like I can't show up here without talking about the product, but the real thing I love to talk about is credit. Like I sit up a little bit more for this. So one, don't get your credit information off TikTok. Get it from a Jahbari, get it from a Jordan, get it from myself. TikTok will set you in the wrong place and have you like TikTok into a big explosion down the road when you find out all that advice was wrong. Okay. On TikTok, if someone looked right now, they would see almost overwhelming, prevailingly people talking about 30% credit usage, meaning I have $1,000 credit card, don't go above $300, but $300 is okay. TikTok got the first mistake. 1 to 6%, folks, is where you want your credit card usage. So to make that super simple, I have $1,000 limit. Ideally, I'm $10 to $60 usage. That sounds so small, but it's what gets you the biggest amount of points. Obviously, keeping your monthly payments on time. I know it's a no-brainer to say that in the world that we live in, but I have clients from time to time, and I'll say, I don't understand why Jordan said his report was so much lower. I only had 3 late pays on 3 accounts in the last 4 months. That's massive. A new late pay hurts you for years and stays on your credit report for 7. It's like a bullet hole on a credit report. And then one that I do see a lot of, and I'm sure Jordan will talk on it in a moment, is shopping windows and getting my credit pulled all the time. Whether it's an auto loan, a mortgage, personal loan, there is a thing called a shopping window. It depends on the bureau. It depends on the product. TransUnion, it's only 14 days, whereas Equifax is 30 days. So when Jahbari sends you to Jordan and you get your credit pulled, I'm never, ever going to tell someone don't ever consider anyone else. But you're looking at a lot more than rate. You're looking at who's got your back, who's there with you. And Jordan's got some of the most aggressive and competitive programs out there when it comes to loan closing. You run your credit multiple times, you will pay that price. It's just a matter of when. And every credit pull, gang, is 3 to 5 points. I saw someone not too long ago that had their credit shotgun by an auto lender. It was 35 pulls in 2 days. So it's like 70 to 100 points that client lost, and they didn't get the car. Didn't get the car because they were just shopping, and they're in the process of getting a house. So their house goal is now pushed back a couple months because they wanted to shop rates on a Charger. A Charger. You want a garage to put a car in, or do you want the car to put in a garage? I want the garage first, gang. Okay. Some of the other do's and don'ts of credit, and this one's a fun one. By law, I'm never going to tell someone not to pay a collection that they know to be theirs. Pay to Caesar what is Caesar's. It's in a really good book a lot of people have read. Okay. But paying something that's on your credit report doesn't necessarily mean it's going to help you. Paying a third-party collection, meaning it's with the collection agency, gang. It's with a Midland Funding, Enhanced Recovery, Portfolio, lots of bad guy names that we know. Well, if you pay it, it would feel like you're doing the right thing because you're settling an old debt. The way the credit scoring algorithms that Jordan uses, the FICO scores, it's not the balance on a collection that hurts or helps you. It's what's called the DLA, or date of last activity. Meaning, if I pay a collection that's on my credit report from 4 years ago today, when it updates and shows that it's a $0 balance, that score is going to drop like a rock in water. The only exception, and this is under the expert guidance of a company like myself, because you have great partners like Jahbari and Jordan, is we help clients get what's called a pay for delete. It's where you pay a collection agency contingent upon them giving you a letter saying it's going to come off your credit report. Gang, there's tens of thousands of collection agencies. I know of about 50 that do pay for deletes. This is the expertise that you get with partners like us, because we're here to give you all the information that we spent a lifetime putting together. The cost of having good or bad credit, outside of not being able to get a house and provide for your family in that kind of sense, you pay more on auto insurance, as if you're more likely to run someone over in the street. Auto insurance, auto loans, personal loans, everything. And the actual amounts, gang, it depends on where you live, but I mean, just not being able to get, ask someone who couldn't buy a house 5 years ago how much money they've made on that house over the last 5 years. They'll tell you zero because they haven't made any equity. They're still paying rent, which is 100% interest. That's the big cost saver or cost killer. So if you buy a house today, as someone who was going through the housing crisis in 2008, who saved their house, they made their payments, they made it through 2008, which was scary for everyone. They sold their house in 2021. How much did that $130,000 purchase in 2007 sell for in 2022? I bet it's triple, if not double. It's crazy money the longer that you're in it. Okay. So that's the importance of doing it. One of the worst places I find clients go is Credit Karma. I'm sure a lot of people use Credit Karma. I'm not here to poo-hoo the competition because they're not competition to me, but Credit Karma is another It's not a real score, gang. There's places to go, whether it's my FICO, or the best place when you're looking at getting ready for a home loan is having Jordan pull your credit. That's the best and only place that you should really be getting your FICO scores from, because you can see from this little graph here, Jordan scores are on the right-hand side. And it's Jordan, but it's every lender everywhere. They're the FICO algorithms. So any lender is pulling the same algorithm. On the right-hand side is the FICO algorithms. It's clean. It's nice. It's easily broken down. It's your payment history, is your on time, you're late. Debt utilization, or amounts owed, is your credit card balances, which is massive. Then everything else kind of breaks into smaller: credit mix, length of credit, new credit, just how long you've had your accounts and things like that. The Vantage model would take me 8 minutes just to run through how that's cut up, let alone all the exceptions that they make to people. Late payments over 2 years, medical collections, paid collections, things like that, just don't count on the Vantage model, is what creates so much confusion. It's just like looking at a house on Zillow and then your credit score on Credit Karma. You're looking at something you can't afford with a credit score you don't have. Talk to Jordan, talk to Jahbari. When you need us here at UQUAL, they're going to send you to us, but they're always, that's why I said I'm either right before or right after the pre-qual, because you won't make it to me without talking to these two excellent gentlemen to make sure that you actually need me. Because if we can find a way to get you into your home loan without signing up, that's the best solution in the world. It's just like Jahbari said, some people think getting a pre-qual means you have to buy today. It'd be nice, but no, there's a way to do things fast and a way to do things right. And rarely, very rarely in life are they synonymous. They're almost normally mutually exclusive, I would say.
So hey, I want to hit on something. Can you go back to that slide that you just had? Because I think that there's a lot of depth to what you were just saying. And before you kept moving, I just really want to harp on this for I think it's anybody. Because when you're looking at your credit scores on all these different apps, this is a common thing that I know Jordan get questions on, and I get questions
all the time.
It's just like, well, you said my credit was this, but I'm looking at it on this app that is that. And you had something on it. Yep, there you go. So there's an algorithm that is used that pulls all your information. And Vantage, the difference between that and the FICO is 100% of a difference. And you literally have a mortgage score and you have a score for some of the other different cards, credit cards. Like, it's a lot of different scores that's going to show up according to what category you are buying. But some of these things, like you said, available credit, recent credit, balances, are going to be the same. But it's, if you think about it, you technically really only get one free credit pull once a year. So those apps, they do a great job. And you're on like Credit Karma, I think they have like a stadium named after
Yeah.
them, or like basketball. So they have great marketing dollars. And I think this is why the relationship side I'm real intentional on, because when we go in there and see where you're at, we can set you up to start not only reading this and understanding like how this can be to your benefit, but after you're done with us, guess what? That's going to allow you to do so much more by now getting yourself in this situation and understanding where we're coming from. So, no, Brian, that's just good, and that's just one, I think, of many different questions that so many people have when it comes to like, well, this is what my credit score show. How are you pulling this? It's like, no, we didn't pull your credit score down. Like,
No.
it's the nature of how this information is reported, and if people understand this at a deeper level, then you realize that you getting an inquiry from us is really not going to hurt you. It's going to help you and get you in the right direction. So that's it.
It's like an x-ray is the best way I can put it. You're not supposed to get x-rays every day, but you need to get an x-ray when you think you have a broken bone, or if you want to see if something's going on inside you. This is the x-ray, and Jordan's x-ray is the actual accurate x-ray of what you're going to be seeing. First, even if someone goes to Equifax.com, you know what they show? It's not a Vantage model, it's a FICO 8, which is even more forgiving than the Vantage model, because they want people to see a good score when they go to Equifax.com. Jordan will always give you the truth, and he'll also help you understand, which is one of the things I like about our guy. Is like, it's not just a, hey, this is what it is, and kicks you out of office. It's an actual conversation on like, let's go over what some of this means and why you are where you are. Because as you said, Jabari, understanding is one of the biggest things. And I can't say how many times, and I'll stop sharing, I've talked to clients that were so set on what they thought they knew. And when we got off the phone, there's a little bit of a jarring realization of, oh, I thought it was this, but it was that. But by the time we're off the phone, there's so much more content and happy knowing this is what it is. This is what I need to do. Because at UQUAL, when we do have someone sent over who needs help, it all starts with a free consult. We are in conjunction with the realtor and the LO, just like these two great gentlemen. So we come up with a great game plan. Well, we feed that to the client. So now the client understands, okay, it felt like it was this big. It's still this big. I can get this done. And you're saying by spring of 2025 is realistic? We were thinking we weren't getting a house till 2026. Through knowledge and understanding comes, I think, comfort and confidence.
Man, okay. And I want to hit on one thing that's very powerful. What you said is, and I just want you guys to think about the difference between when you're in front of right people that have the right information. Oftentimes, if you have that information that can correct your thinking to do something better, it's ultimately whatever you paid for that information in that time slot is going to get you so much further and cost you less. And like, if I could have a like a map or some type of visual to give you that understanding, like you think about like, this is why a lot of people in personal development space exist, because if you know something so much better, you can get so much further in a short amount of time. So anyways, I'm getting on my personal development little stint, so I'm a home back, but go ahead, Brian.
Everything starts, and for the folks watching or who will be watching later, everything starts with a free consultation. Jabari and Jordan set up a crazy good discount, and our first job is to try and get you even into a home without enrolling with us. So the thing I would say is, when you need us, they will let you know. And whether it's myself, Heather, who Jabari and Jordan know, or any of our team members that work alongside and underneath us, we're here with one goal in mind, which is getting you ready for your home loan as soon as possible. And then take it to the next level for those who are super serious of, hey, they closed me at a 620. I got an FHA home loan. Look at me. It's like the Paul Rudd thing. Who'd have thought? Look at us. Huh? Who'd have thought? Now what's next? And I love the what's next people, but I also love the people that's, hey, thanks for everything. I got my house, and off to the races they go. So when you need us, you will be introduced to us. For those who know of, even you're watching this and you're thinking of a friend or family member that maybe went through it with COVID, and they're not even thinking about getting a house today because I can't. I have all these collections, I have all these lates. It's never going to happen for me. Get your friend or family member to Jahbari and Jordan so they can actually give them an idea of what they need. And if they need us, they'll have us expertly waiting by to be able to assist in any way that we can.
Love it. Love it. And so appreciate that. I think the main thing for most people who have maybe just come in and chimed in or came in a couple minutes late, um, I want to reshare kind of the process and end with that. And then of course, if anything else come up. And so some of you guys may have seen this and some of you guys may have not, but this is the buying process. Here's the thing, regardless of what state you're in, regardless of where you're at, this process is almost the same. Now, terminology sometimes is used differently. Certain things are shorter than, but the reality of it, like this is always going to be the process. And I want you to look at the first 3 steps. The first 3 steps is pre-approval, a buyer consultation, and search for home. That does not say search for home, go and then do a pre-approval. And the reason it says that, some of you guys are so much in a renting mind space, you think that you need to go find your house that you want first before you do the pre-approval. And the whole reason for us to do that is to flip your mind and be able to say no. The whole job of us is to be able to see what we need to do up front when it comes to a pre-approval, because at that stage of the pre-approval, we now know, all right, this is what you can buy. This is what your budget going to be, because that's generally the question. Like, well, how much my mortgage going to be? How much my payment will be? Do you know that we can't tell you that unless we actually have a pre-approval actually done? And it's actually against federal law for someone to say they can get you at this payment unless they give all the details in the fine tune, which most of the time nobody reads. And the reality of that is, according to your specific situation, we need to have the information. And so oftentimes when we do this pre-approval, Brian hit on a little bit, and I know Jordan generally hits over it as well, is if, hey, they say we need the documentation. So let's say that you are a W-2 employee. One thing that you need to always have is your most recent pay stub. And depending on how you get paid, if you get paid monthly, chances are we need maybe the previous month or at least 2 previous months. And also, if you've been at your job over 2 years, that's a plus. So we want to make sure we sometimes have, if you work a lot of overtime, that's more than your hourly rate. It's helpful to be able to get the end of the year check stub, because that will calculate for Jordan sometime in the mortgage team to say, hey, you actually made this much more on top of what your hourly rate is because you worked
100%.
overtime. So that's why it's helpful to have that. Or sometimes if you have your tax returns, to be able to have it as well. And if you're 1099, and I also want you to think about friends and family members who's in these situations, who's asking these questions, or they need clarity around it. I would love to speak with them and get them on this roadmap so they can be able to purchase a home. 1099 is sometimes real similar. Need 2 years of tax returns, and it's a lot of different programs. I'm not going to get into the programs right now, but making sure we have just everything that you do need in order for us to give you the accurate, basically give you the accurate location of where you're at and what you need to do to be able to purchase a home. So, and if you're ready, and we give you the price amount. The last thing that I would hit on, and when you look at this process, is I want you guys to realize one thing. When you do this pre-approval, I would rather, and I'm going to say this, I would rather if you were looking at a $300,000 home and you end up getting approved for a $150,000 home, I would say you would save yourself so much money by staying and buying that home at 150,000, paying that on time, building up your savings, and then in the next 2 years, or 3 years, 5 years, let's talk about getting the $300 home. Sometimes if you've done enough work, you can get more than that. Now, Jahbari, why you say that? Like, why is that? Why do you mention that? Well, I want you to think about this. If you don't buy the $150,000 home, you're going to keep renting. And what's going to happen is that time is still going to pass. And I want you to do the math. And if you do the math, it's like, okay, let's say I'm paying $1,000, a month on rent. I can keep paying that for another year. That's $12,000. Let's say, well, what if 4 year passed and I kept paying rent of $1,000? $48,000. How much of that could you use that to pay down a mortgage, a house? And guess what? You have that in equity to be able to use to even get a better home. So you actually, that money really don't go away. It's just built into your house. And so it is always better. And sometimes I get in trouble for this, and I tell people, I'm like, listen, it's creative ways to be able to get out your lease if you've done all the work you need to do. And it's a lot of different companies who would actually assist you in helping you get out your lease, or you can sublet. So all I have to say is, I'm not here to give advice on what you should do for a rental wise, but I am giving you advice on when it comes to rethink about how much time and money you're putting into your renting. Rethink about that, because the reality is when you say you don't have money and when you say you don't have a way to get a home, you do. You just spent a lot of time giving it to landlord. And here's a fun fact. Before I was a real estate agent, I was an investor. We used to own rental properties. And the first thing I went to my tenants and said, like, listen, if you want to buy a home, here's a simple fact. I know it's going to be somebody else who want to rent this place out. But I want you guys to take ownership and be able to own a home. Did they do it? Yes and no. You guys are here or listen to this replay because you have a true desire to get in position to buy something. You will not be able to get any further unless you take the necessary steps. So, Bryan, I appreciate you for taking out the time going over that. And I think what is super helpful is to set up that initial intro call. If you guys have listened to this, you at least talked to me at least once, and you may have talked to Jordan already. But with that being said, this helps me help you guys. So, Bryan, you have anything we're closing? And I know Jordan, you kind of got a lot of fires over there. So if you can say anything, that's great. If not, I understand.
I would say I couldn't agree more on now is the best time to buy a house, and understanding that I talk to people sometimes, I want a 400. They said I can only get approved for 200. Well, that's fine. 1, 2, 3 years of that before you're now house hacking, and you're getting your mortgage and your part of your next mortgage paid for by a renter. That can't happen if you don't buy a $200,000 house that you can then move on from. You don't build the equity. I personal experience, did not buy a house in 2020 and didn't buy a house until 2022. One, I missed on some rates, which rates change all the time. That's not the end of the world. And rates, you really have to get into the weeds. The cost of the house that I bought went up by like $60,000 in that 2 year time. Not since I bought it, but in me not buying that neighborhood from 2020 to 2022. I've made some money in the last 2 years, but I essentially threw away all the money I spent on rent and didn't make the equity that I could have by not taking that plunge. With if I had partners that like, and sometimes you just need someone to be real with you, like Jahbari is. I was waiting for a unicorn, and I wish I had someone who give me a swift kick in the behind to say, "Hey, pull the trigger, do the right thing for you and your family." So I just can't stress enough. You guys have some real ones with Jordan Jahbari on how amazing these folks are.
Appreciate it.
Yes. And I know I've been out of this meeting for most of it. I apologize, everybody. Just like within the mortgage business, um, there can be troubles and struggles while in a file. And so, of course, you got to rise to the occasion and be there for your clients. So, but another side of it is sometimes your file is going to be very difficult to get approved, and there's going to be steps that need to be done. Let's say credit repair, or you're currently 1099 and you don't have 2 years of work history being 1099, and we have to go through the time, but use the time to your benefit. If it's 2 months, 4 months, a year, do the steps, do the work, stay diligent. It may be annoying and frustrating, but just keep taking the steps. I want to highlight one that we did with UQUAL. The client came to me, he had a 589. We could do the deal. That's fine. We could do the deal. But he wasn't going to be purchasing for another 4 to 6 months. So I said, hey, reach out to UQUAL, just talk to them. You don't have to opt into their service. Just have a conversation. If you don't like it, you don't like it, but maybe you could get some little pieces, and then maybe you want to join their program and they can help you. That individual ended up joining the program, and in 6 months we got him up to a 624. And that buffer from 589 to 624 was hundreds of dollars. And you think over the life of the loan, thousands of dollars, all because of the small, little, tedious tasks that you have to do to get there, but it's all worth it in the end. So I know some of y'all's files are going to be difficult, and even when you go into the loan, there might be some bumps in the road, but when you have a solid team behind you, we'll get there. Just have to trust the process.
Yes.
But
Trust the process. And so before we leave, because I'm that person that want to overemphasize as many points as I can, because I want you guys to win in purchasing and owning real estate. I was able to pull up this little cost of rent and how it adds up. And I think this is helpful for some of you guys. So if you are paying rent, and on the left, it's going to have like a metric of like saying, hey, this is if you're paying a bare minimum of $1,200 a month, right? Less or more. In 5 years, this is the total that you would pay. Now, Jordan, I want you to tell me one thing.
yeah.
If they done everything right, what is the minimum down payment that most people have to be able to put down?
Well, if we go FHA,
Yep.
it's 3.5%.
Okay.
But
But
there's down payment assistance as well.
okay.
So
let's talk about that.
potentially-
And maybe let's talk to the person that let's say they can't. I doubt somebody can't do this, but let's just say somebody can't do down payment assistance because they just
Sure.
make too much over the threshold, right? They make
Sure.
over 100K. Okay. So we know those people exist and some of those people still need help. So in 5 years, if you pay 1,200 a month in 5 years at 72,000, Jordan, with a down payment for a $300,000 home, is it going to exceed 72,000?
Definitely not.
Okay.
Definitely not.
Will it exceed 50,000?
No.
Okay. Will it exceed 40,000?
Definitely nowhere close.
Okay. So the point that I'm making is that if you can be able to pay rent a very minimum of 1,200 a month and some less, you can take that same amount of money. And if you're paying double, then, or if you're paying half, just you can put that money back to get you in a position to be able to buy a home. So the reality is this: I am a landlord. So that means, guess what? If I own the property, all you're doing is paying down the mortgage that my company have on it. And so it is in your best interest to get in position to buy a home. So I say all that to give the illustration of we are here for you. We're here to assist you and give you proper guidance. I'm going to say this. I don't know that many people who's willing to take in the energy and effort to make sure not only one that you give you the right information, but here's the reality is that we actually enjoy doing it. No one is forcing us to be here, but where your attention is at, where your focus goes, your energy flows. And so we're here because we have a deep focus of helping the people that want to be helped. So with that, Bryan, thank you for taking our time, for being here and giving that illustration. Jordan, thank you. If I'm going to allow just a couple minutes, if you guys have had any questions about your process, about where you're at, or anything that you guys want to be able to unmute and ask the question of, and here's the thing: no question is a silly question, right? We want to help. we want to exist. And I know a lot of you guys have talked to me, or we have talked, or we haven't talked yet, but we're planning on talking. And I just want to give opportunity for you guys to ask any questions. You can just literally unmute and just say, "Hey, I got a question." Or if you want to use the chat, great. But want to give that chance opportunity.
This is where I always like, we wish we held some.
Well, and I know I talked to certain people, and people's working and doing something. So, one more chance. If you guys do have any questions, please ask. Just because what I've realized, even when I've went to seminars where I've had to pay for, and the speaker on the stage has asked the question, have said, "Hey, did anyone have the question?" And I asked that question. That's most of the time the same question somebody else had. And it has helped the other people by them answering that question. But then also it gave you a boost of confidence in what you're wanting to do. Yes, Rosalind, there will be a replay available. So yes, this is being recorded. So this will get sent out. I will say, if you have family members or friends or people that you want them to be able to get the replay, it's two ways you can do that. Number one, reach out to us, or two, they can be able to go to this link and make sure they're registered. As long as they're registered, they will get this replay. So, and obviously we're not hard to find. So appreciate the question. Like, see, that was a fair question, right? It's good to ask questions. So appreciate that. Any other questions? If not, we will go ahead and wrap it up for today. And I'm gonna give the awkward silence just to make somebody feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, no, the pity question. That's all about it. Nope, no takers.
No takers. All right, Brian, thank you very much. Jordan, thank you very much. Y'all have a great evening. Thank you guys for attending, and y'all be blessed, and we'll see you next time.
Stay blessed. Bye.
Bye.